All right, y'all, welcome to another video. Ready to get into it. I'm so excited. I started off this thing just wanting to know more about Maccabees because I know that what they tell us about the Maccabees, about celebrating the Festival of Lights, they make it all about the oil in the lamp that was in the temple, and so, but I know there's more to the story. So I'm really, really enjoying um, how in depth this story is, and how it teaches so many other things. We see so many other things. Um, so we're moving on to chapter 4, and uh, so we'll just start in verse 1 and we'll just work our way through. Chapter 4 is kind of a long chapter, but we'll get through it. It says, and Georgius took 5,000 footmen and 1,000 chosen horse, and the army removed by night, that it might fall upon the army of the Jews and smite them suddenly. And the men of the citadel were his guides, and Judas heard thereof, and removed he and the valiant men, that he might smite the king's host, which was at Emaus, while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. And Georgius came into the camp of Judas by night, and found no man. And he sought them in the mountains, for he said, these men flee from us. And as soon as it was day, Judas appeared on the plain with 3,000 men, howbeit they had not armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the Gentiles strong and fortified, and horsemen compassing it round about, and these were expert in war. And Judas said to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their onset. Remember how our fathers were saved in the Red Sea, when Pharaoh pursued them with a host. And now let us cry unto heaven, if he will have us, and will remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this army before our face today. And all the Gentiles shall know that there is one who redeemeth and saveth Israel. And the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them, and they went out of the camp to battle. And they that were with Judah sounded their trumpets and joined battle. And the Gentiles were discomfited and fled into the plain. But all the hindmost fell by the sword, and they pursued them unto Gazara. Probably Gaza nowadays, but Gazara back then. And unto the plains of Idumea. And such gray hair. I don't know. It's weird. Sorry. And Azotus and Jamnia. I need to edit that out. And there fell of them about 3,000 men. And Judas and his host returned from pursuing after them. And he said unto the people, be not greedy of the spoils, inasmuch as there is a battle before us. And Georgius and his host or nigh unto us in the mountain. But stand ye now against our enemies, and fight against them, and afterwards take the spoils with boldness. While Judas was yet making an end of these words, there appeared a part of them looking out from the mountain. And they saw that their host had been put to flight, and that the Jews were burning the camp. For the smoke that was seen declared was what was done. But when they perceived these things, they were sore afraid, and perceiving also the army of Judas in the plain ready for battle, they fled all of them into the land of the Philistines. And Judas returned to spoil the camp, and they got much gold and silver and blue and sea purple and great riches. And they returned home and sang a song of thanksgiving, and gave praise unto heaven, because his mercy is good, because his mercy endureth forever. I wish we knew the song that they sang. I think that would be a really cool song to know. But we see that the first thing they did was pray. And after they prayed, then they took action once they knew that Yah was with them. Then they took action and they went and handled business. Okay. And then he told them, don't get too excited about the spoils. Don't get too excited about, getting rich. We got a battle to fight. Don't forget what we're doing here. Don't get, complacent. And they didn't. And they finished the work. They finished the battle. And then they took the spoils. Okay. So I like how the men listened to him. And I like how his strategy was, I think that was amazing. All right, let's keep going. 26. But the strangers, as many as had escaped, came and told Lysias all the things that had happened. But when he heard thereof, he was confounded and discouraged, because neither had such things as he would been done unto Israel, nor had such things as the king commanded him come to pass. So nothing they tried to do worked. The army couldn't defeat them. The king's words had no power against them, because they stood strong. Okay. 28. And in the next year he gathered together 70,000 chosen footmen and 5,000 horse, and he might subdue them. And they came into Idumea and encamped at Bethshara, and Judas met them with 10,000 men. And he saw that the army was strong, and he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the onset of the mighty men by the hand of thy servant David, and didst deliver the army of the Philistines into the hands of Jonathan the son of Saul, and of his armor bearer. Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be ashamed for their host and their horsemen. Give them faintness of heart, and cause the boldness of their strength to melt away, and let them quake at their destruction. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. And they joined the battle. And there fell of the army of Lysias about 5,000 men, and they fell down over against them. All right, so I want to show y'all, this prayer in the middle here is really good. I think that's a really good prayer. Asking Yah to defend them, to fight the battle for them, to help them, defeat this army. I think that was an amazing thing. All right, let's keep going. But when Lysias saw that his array was put to flight, and the boldness that had come upon them that were with Judas, and how they were ready either to live or die nobly, he removed to Antioch, and gathered together hired soldiers, that he might come again into Judea with an even greater company. But Judas and his brethren said, Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse the holy place, and to dedicate it afresh. And all the army was gathered together, and they went up unto Mount Zion, and they saw the sanctuary laid desolate, and the altar profane, and the gates burned up, and the shrubs growing in the courts, as in a forest, or as one of the mountains, and the priests' chambers pulled down. And they rent their clothes, and made great lamentation, and put ashes on their heads, and fell on their faces to the ground, and blew with the solemn trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the citadel, until he should have cleansed the holy place. And he chose blameless priests, such as had pleasure in the law. I want you guys to get that. Me and the wife were talking about this today. If you have a time when there are, there has to be people amongst us who are blameless before Yah and who love his law. And those are the people that should be teaching. You shouldn't have people teaching that number one, are not blameless. Okay? If they're all caught up in sin and they're caught up with so many different evil spirits and, demonic entities, and, they're just in the hand of the enemy. You got a lot of pastors out here teaching, and that's how they are, full of sin. But yet they stand in front of the people. But you're supposed to be able to stand in front of the people with boldness. That means you're not caught up in any kind of sin. You're not caught up in anything immoral, and you love Yahweh's law. You love reading His word. You love teaching. You love talking about it. Those are the type of people we need to have in front of us, not these people who are basically just like glorified, positive, just giving positive words to people. We don't need no more Joel Osteens. We don't need no more people who just give a positive word only, won't tell you the truth, and don't really love Yah's word and don't really know it. I'm sick and tired of seeing that. So we need to surround ourselves with people, men, women, who love Yahweh's law. And we were talking about it today that, my wife was saying, can a woman teach? And I was saying, yeah, if there are no men who are qualified. And because it takes time, it takes years to develop a walk with Yahweh to where you hear His voice, He hears your voice. He's talking back to you as you're talking to Him. You have real communication. And that is what Yah wants us to have, is a real communication with Him. There are too many people who don't really have real communication with Yahweh. Okay? A lot of people, they can't even say His name. They're so caught up in all sorts of sin. All right? And then there's people who are just disobedient to His word, won't follow what He says, and just caught up in this whole idea that, oh, we ain't got to. I don't have to do this, but I want to teach the word. No. Like He said, He found priests that were blameless, such as had pleasure in the law. They loved the law. That's who we need to keep around us and surround ourselves with. Everybody else is going to come and go. If they don't really love Yah, we need to push them out, especially out of teaching positions. There's too many people out here trying to teach when they have not been proofed. See, He chose people who had a reputation. Multiple people knew these people were godly, blameless, loved the law. And if you keep it such a secret, and no one knows that you're this type of person, how is Yahweh going to choose you? It has to be shown in your actions and in your words and in just the way you are. And the Spirit of Yah has to approve you. Okay? Yahweh, you cannot be approved in the Spirit if Yahweh doesn't even know you exist. Okay? So that's one of the main takeaways I want to make sure we understand here, is that in order for someone to be in front of other people, they have to be proofed over a period of time. You can go through my videos and you can see from my very first video, I've pretty much been the same way. I haven't changed much at all. I've grown in my understanding. I've grown in my walk, in my faith, but I'm not wishy-washy. I talk the same. I do everything the same. I'm pretty much the same person as I was when I first started this, all right? Go back and listen to some of them old videos, and see how I talk, see how I am. I love Yahweh's law. I love the commandments. I love the book. I love all of this, Modern day, a lot of people think we don't have to do this, we won't have to do that, because Paul seemed to say that. And it would seem that he seemed to say that on the surface. But once you really get to understand what Paul was saying, you realize he was trying to tell people, you can't just have the works, and you can't just have the faith in Yeshua. You have to have both. But anyway, let's keep going. Verse 43. And they cleansed the holy place and bare out the stones of defilement into an unclean place. And they took counsel concerning the altar of burnt offerings, which had been profaned, what they should do with it. And there came into their mind a good counsel, that they should pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the Gentiles had defiled it. And they pulled down the altar, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the house in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to give an answer concerning them. And they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar after the fashion of the former. And they built the holy place and the inner parts of the house, and they hollowed the courts, and they made the holy vessels new. And they brought the candlestick and the altar of burnt offerings and of incense and the table into the temple, and they burned incense upon the altar, and they lighted the lamps that were upon the candlestick, and they gave light in the temple, and they set loaves upon the table. So let me pause right there, because I want you guys to see something here. They found blameless men who loved the law. They understood what Yahweh said you needed to do. All right. They did not. Okay. They were priests, which is different from a prophet. But you see what they did. And I want us to pay close attention to their actions. Their actions were, hey, we don't exactly know exactly what to do, but we do know the law. And we do understand that because the Gentiles have defiled the altar, we can no longer use it. We can't just, do something to it, wash it, and it be okay. It's been defiled. So what did they do? They took the big rocks and they brought them back to the mountain. And then they brought rocks from the mountain back to the temple, right? And put it in a sanctuary. And they said they will wait until a prophet would tell them what to do with the old stones, but they knew they couldn't use the old stones. All right. So we know that everything that was in the temple were gold. All right. And we know that they were certain instruments, but those things had been taken by the king. So they had to find more. I mean, they may not have had gold, but they found the things that they needed in order to do what they needed to do. Okay. They found some candlesticks. They found, everything that they needed to find. The tables, they put some bread on it. They did everything that they were supposed to do. The best way that they could, because they didn't have a prophet that could hear, expressly from Yahweh. Because they didn't have anyone who could hear expressly from Yahweh, they did the best thing that they could. And I want you guys to also pay attention. Just because you serve before the people, that you are a priest, that you stand before people, it doesn't always mean you're hearing directly from Yah. We got to stop this idea that, I can't talk unless I'm hearing from Yah. Yahweh tells us every Shabbat, read from the word, read from the books, the law and the prophets. So every Shabbat, we know we're supposed to read from the law and from the prophets, because that's what they always did. And that gives us our basis to move forward. Now, if there's other things, then you have people like a judge who, or a prophet, type of person who can hear from Yah. They might have to sleep on it. Yah might have to show them in a dream, so they might have to come back the next day to hear the final word and all. But there are these steps. Everybody is not on the same level. All right? These priests could not hear Yahweh's voice, but they understood the law and they understood what they could do, even though they couldn't hear Yahweh's voice expressly. So I don't like when people feel like, me personally, we can hear the Holy Spirit now. We can hear Yah's voice. We can hear an understanding. But there are some situations you're not going to know exactly what to do. But you can always go back to the word and you can find a story or something that's similar to what you're going through. and use that as your inspiration for moving forward. Because if you're using Yahweh's word, if you're going about things the way he wrote it down, the way it was written down, Yahweh cannot blame you for whatever you do, because more than likely you're going to make the right move. Especially looking up, hey, who in the Bible went through this? You can always use ChatGPT for that. It's simple, because you can always verify it by the word. Simple, you know. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going. All right, 51. And they set loaves upon a table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which they made. And they rose up early in the morning on the 25th day of the 9th month, which was the month Chislev, in the 148th year. So the 9th month, okay, on the 25th is when they dedicated the temple. Okay, and 53. And offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. At what time and on what day the Gentiles had profaned it, even on that day it was dedicated afresh, with songs and harps and lutes and with cymbals. And all the people fell upon their faces and worshipped and gave praise unto heaven, which had given them good success. And they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed a sacrifice of deliverance and praise. Do you hear that? They sacrificed a sacrifice of deliverance and praise. So if we wanted to do this in modern day, we would do it on the 25th of the 9th month. Okay? So that would be, we'll have to figure it out. But anyway, 10th, 11th, 12th, January, February, March, December, January, February, March. So that's December 25th. Okay, so go figure. December 25th is when the Gentiles defiled it. So December 25th is when they dedicated it. Okay, so we want to keep the festival, okay, of the Maccabees. It is December 25th. Why? I mean, it sounds weird, doesn't it, to say, oh, that's on Christmas Day. Well, yeah, because remember, Christmas is not, I mean, nowadays they blame it and they say, oh, we're celebrating the birth of Jesus. No, they're not. They're celebrating the birth of Mithras or Sol Invictus, you know. So Mithras or Sol Invictus, however you want to use it, was born on December 25th. Tammuz was born December 25th. Okay. So all of this stuff that they are doing, the Gentiles do, is an abomination. But if we want to do it the right way, this is how we do it. All right, December 25th, we offer an offering of a sacrifice of deliverance and praise. We praise, worship, you know, praise and worship. We have deliverance, you know, it's kind of hard to explain that one. You know, we give an offering of deliverance and praise. So deliverance is like, you know, we're delivered, we are free. So we worship in freedom, freedom in spirit, freedom in Yah, you know. So we cast off everything, and then now we walk in this newness, in this freshness, and we offer our praises to Yah, but for what he did back then. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to, we'll repeat 57. And they decked the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and small shields, and dedicated afresh the gates and priest chambers, and made doors for them. And there was exceeding great gladness among the people, and the reproach of the Gentiles was turned away. And Judas and his brethren and the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their seasons from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Chislev, with gladness and joy. So starting on December 25th for 8 days, that is how you keep the Feast of Dedication, or they call it a Festival of Lights. All right. I have not gotten to the part yet where there's a problem, because they didn't seem to run out of no oil in this so far. Now we're going to read the next chapter and we're going to see, but I want us to understand what it's actually about. Okay, what the Festival of Dedication, the Festival of Lights, is actually about. We need to understand this story. So that's why I wanted to read it line for line, because I needed us to understand what this story means, so that when we celebrate it, we're celebrating it in reality. We take out the the Ish fables, okay? We take out the falsehoods. We take out the overly, kind of, they put the focus on the wrong thing. We want the whole story. We want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us Yahweh. Okay? 60. And at that season they builded up the Mount Sion with high walls and strong towers round about, lest haply the Gentiles should come and tread them down, as they had done aforetime. And he set there a force to keep it, and they fortified Beth Shura to keep it, that the people might have a stronghold over against Idumea. So they built a wall around the mountain, around Mount Zion. In that day, I would love to go there and see if parts of that mountain is still there. Parts of the wall is still there. I think that would be amazing. But all right, that's it for chapter 4. I hope you guys got as much out of it as I have. I have been really enjoying this this reading, and I hope you've gotten a lot out of it, like I've gotten a lot out of it. And hey, tell me what you guys are getting out of this, and we'll see y'all next week. Let's keep it going. Have a great one.